Churches across the country face a lawsuit that would impose $1 billion of new taxes against them. This is Bishop Ed Peacher. He founded Chicago Embassy Church in one of America's toughest neighborhoods, Southside Chicago.
Our mission is to engage the city, collectively wrap our arms around the city, and love it to health.
Congregations like his are on the front lines of the fight against crime and poverty.
Every program, everything that we do has to pass through that matrix. Is it going to make a difference in the city? Are we going to communicate the truth of the gospel? Is somebody going to be helped?
I'm gonna let it shine,
Pastor Chris Butler currently leads Chicago Embassy Church.
Today is a rally called Chicago United in Prayer. So what's happening is that hundreds of congregations across the city are coming together to pray for peace in our city.
America's religious communities fund over 1.5 million social programs, with over 7.5 million volunteers. But now these communities face a lawsuit, a nearly $1 billion threat that could devastate these vital community programs. The lawsuit challenges something called the housing allowance, which has been part of the federal tax law for over 60 years. Under this law, employers can give their workers a tax-free housing allowance if their workers have to live in a particular community or use their homes for their jobs. The law has been used by all sorts of workers, like business leaders, teachers, military service members, and pastors like Bishop Ed and Pastor Chris.
If I'm here to pastor this community, if I'm here to make an impact to this community, it has to be done in the context of a relationship, and it's hard to have a relationship over distance. You got to be there. There's no substitute for proximity. You have to be there.
The reason why I was always proud that Bishop and Pastor Chris lived in our community because they were like hands-on. I need a preacher. I'm on my way.
A group of atheists is now challenging the housing allowance, not because they want it for themselves, but because they want to take it away from ministers like Bishop Ed and Pastor Chris.
These are people who don't live in the community, wanting to stifle the way we do what we do, addressing the issues that we address without lifting a finger to help us at all, except to hinder what we do.
If the atheists win, religious leaders across the country will face almost $1 billion in new taxes every year, forcing them to cut back on vital community ministries.
If you take away even a little bit, it can become a lot of trouble quickly. The majority of churches, the pastors are like me and experience at some level those same problems that we're trying to face in the community.
A federal court recently struck down the housing allowance for ministers, a ruling that would harm religious leaders across the country. So, Becket has appealed on behalf of Bishop Ed, Pastor Chris, and houses of worship everywhere.
The impact could be huge for communities, especially the communities like the ones where we work and serve, where folks need all the help that they can get.